If he had come in the back of their house 30 minutes earlier, she'd have been at school. 30 minutes later, she'd have already been headed to gym.
Get on your face. Get on the fucking ground. Get on your fucking face. Get on the face.
A white car. When I came out, the doors were open. There was a young black man screaming, and there was a lady on the floor.
4QB advisory and multiple gunshot wound calls in the Highway Street area of the previous call.
Then the second car parked right there, parked in the same spot.
I apologize. This is really difficult.
If you know this family, they are so kind and so sweet and so loving.
I feel that I get hit. I see that he's shooting at me.
There you go, baby. There you go.
Hey, are you? If you haven't watched part 1 already, I encourage you to do so. Click the button at the top right or the link in the description of this video. Newly released court documents clarified and provided more details about the heartbreaking day. Authorities made an adjustment to a timeline of the 3 incidents previously released by the sheriff's office. On the morning of February 22, 2023, Natasha Augustine's friend, who was driving her at the time, stopped to pick up Keith Moses, his 19-year-old cousin, and the driver of the vehicle described Moses as acting strange and sweating in the car prior to pulling out his firearm and wounding Natasha in the chin. Tyonna Major had just gotten home from school later that same day. Her mom, Brandi, was taking a nap when 19-year-old Keith Moses allegedly entered the backyard of their home. The mother had told the 9-year-old to get her things together for dance class so she'd be ready for when her father came home to take her. Not long after, Brandi said she woke up to her daughter yelling, "He shot me," as the child ran into her mother's room and jumped into the bed. In the midst of the confusion, Brandi heard 2 discharge sounds and her arm began burning. She had been hit. The woman grabbed Tyonna and the mother and daughter barricaded themselves in the bathroom until emergency responders arrived. The 9-year-old described the assailant to her mother and said he had entered the home through the rear glass sliding door. The mother said she normally kept the doors locked, but sometimes left them unlocked after letting the dog out. Immediately after wounding Brandi and Tyonna, Moses allegedly left the home and walked back to the nearby area of the incident, which occurred that morning when he allegedly took Natasha Augustine's life. An unmarked vehicle was parked in the exact spot where the woman's friend, the man's cousin, had pulled over to call for help earlier that day. Spectrum News 13 employees had been driving the unmarked vehicle and they'd arrived to cover that incident when minutes after arrival, reporter 24-year-old Lyons was wounded in his chest at point-blank range while in the front passenger seat of the crew's Ford Escape. Photojournalist Jesse Walden was found wounded by the truck of the SUV. Initially, authorities believed that the journalists were wounded prior to Tyonna and Brandi. All 4 wounded were taken to Orlando Regional Medical Center, where sadly Tyonna passed away after being wounded twice in her torso. Her mother was wounded once, and additionally, less than an hour following the incident, unfortunately, Lyons also passed away. Keith was taken into custody about 20 minutes after the 3rd incident, and investigators recovered the firearm used in the shooting spree during his arrest. At the time, deputies said he was sweating as he walked toward them. The warrant noted that the firearm slide was in the locked position and the mag was still inserted, which is consistent with the firearm being fired until it ran out of ammo and the slide locking to the rear. Officers said Moses behaved strangely and, quote, made hand symbols of firearms as he pointed the gesture at his head. He even did this at the hospital while he was being evaluated. The warrant stated he did not communicate with deputies or the hospital staff, but made facial expressions such as smiling. Once at the sheriff's office, he continued refusing to speak with investigators and pretended to be asleep. Documents indicated that a witness shared cell phone video of the assailant and a witness also identified Moses through a photo lineup. Investigators spoke to a reporter and videographer from WFTV who was also covering the story of the initial incident. According to them, a man had been walking toward them with a firearm and they were able to videotape him as he left the scene. They called 911 and then made their way to the Spectrum News 13 vehicle where they saw Lyons and Walden had been wounded.
This morning we were pleased to announce that we have charged Keith Moses with the additional crimes. Yeah, so it was extremely important to bring these charges forward. I remember the night it happened, many of you in the news media and of course Tyonna's family wanted justice for their friends and family. Since I've been sheriff, we've been working very closely with the state attorney's office. It's a very, very small percentage of people here in Orange County that are committing the crimes. And, I just think that when people continue to be arrested over and over again, they just need to be held accountable.
By the following day, Moses was already charged with ending Natasha's life and initially pleaded not guilty to one charge of first-degree fatality through his public defender. On February 28, 2023, authorities added 2 counts of first-degree fatality, 2 counts of attempted first-degree fatality, and burglary charges, the latter for entering the major home. He was scheduled to appear in court, but his attorney waived his right due to, quote, behavior. On a form called Advice to Defendant First Appearance, the line from Moses' signature has, quote, unable to sign, filled in. Tyonna was remembered as a leader at Orlando Metro Gymnastics where she attended. They planned an open gym fundraiser on March 3rd and stated that all proceeds would go to the family's GoFundMe.
She was the leader of the team. She was fussing at folks if they weren't in line, paying attention.
Coach Donna Alexin tells me she's been coaching Tyonna Major for about a year.
Not only did she have God-given natural talent, she was strong as a horse. When God put her in the crystal ball, he said, you're going to be a gymnast.
At just 9 years old, Tyonna already won dozens of medals.
It was like I was a sponge and she had to soak me up to get all the information she could out of me. She was very driven.
Tyonna was so focused that she was at gymnastics practice 3 times a week, but she never showed up at last Wednesday's practice.
I went over to Coach Noah and I said, where in the world is T? She never, ever, ever, ever misses a practice. If he had come in the back of their house 30 minutes earlier, she'd have been at school. 30 minutes later, she'd have already been headed to gym. So it's just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she just had so much to offer.
Driven, focused, and a fighter, Coach Donna says Tyonna fought until the end.
Her dad said, you'd been proud of her. She fought. She fought for her life in the ambulance, and she fought for her life on the operating room table. And she was a fighter, because I always told her, Dad, she's a fighter. She's a warrior in competition. She just wanted to be the best she could be out there.
Tyonna was part of a team of 10. Coach Donna says she will always be with them.
That's how I talk to the girls is, look, I have some sad news, but I have some really good news too. Sad news is we lost our T, and the good news is that she's gone to be an angel in heaven.
The Pine Hills community continues to try their best to honor the lives lost and recover from such devastation.
Lord, we pray for healing in this community. We pray for healing in the families that lost their loved ones.
ICP Orlando, a bilingual Christian church in West Orange County, came together Friday night for a community in mourning.
In your moment of trouble, in your moment of sorrow, you can call on the Lord.
They're remembering the lives of journalist Dylan Lyons, 9-year-old Tyonna Major, and Natasha Augustine.
3 victims with their entire lives ahead of them, now inspiring those who love them.
And it lets us know that we're not suffering in this alone. And we greatly appreciate each and every one of you, and we thank God for you guys.
Phyllis Turner Robinson, the aunt of 9-year-old Tyonna Major, telling friends and family during a vigil hosted at ICP Church in Orlando how their community coming together is helping the family get through an unthinkable tragedy.
We wanted to let you know how much we love and appreciate you guys for the outpouring of love and support that's been coming from the community, from, it has just been touching our hearts.
Meanwhile,
it's my honor to read the Mourner's Kaddish, which is what we say in times of grief.
Outside the journalism building at UCF, professors and students honor the life of 24-year-old Dylan Lyons.
Just because he lives.
Lots of love and comfort was shared at this event, which included this candlelight vigil and Lutheran Church Ministries Comfort Dog Ministry for support as the church remembered the victims of gun violence.
The biggest thing about her, she would advocate for you and support you more than she would herself.
Laddie Calloway is a friend of 38-year-old Natasha Augustine. She was the first one murdered on Hialeah and Harrington Streets.
That woman was sweet. She was too innocent. You feel me? She was too innocent.
Shaka Smith has known Augustine for 10 years.
That's something I can't cope with. Not just the love I got for her, she good people, but that's another family member losing their life over nonsense.
He says now families and friends are left with indescribable pain.
As of this video, Jesse Walden, the Spectrum photojournalist, was injured, has remained hopeful and continues to provide updates of his continued recovery.
He was released from the hospital today. You see that big smile on his face. He is now recovering at home.
Pine Hills Elementary School Principal LaTanya Smothers said she was encouraging parents to talk to their kids about Tyonna's passing. The school offered grief counselors on campus for any student or staff member who needed to speak with someone regarding the loss. A family friend shared more about the 9-year-old whose passing has left such a dampening feeling on her community.
Mom is heartbroken, and of course, as you know, she's trying to just put her mind around all of this.
Barra says he didn't see any injuries on her.
To have a survivor, which is the mom, that is amazing, but it's still crushing that their 9-year-old daughter, who had a big future ahead of her as a gymnast and all of the things she wants to accomplish, has been taken down by such evil.
As for Tyonna's father, Tokio, many say he was her superhero.
He is heartbroken because any man wants to always be there to protect his family, and you could only imagine how he feels, and he's just trying to be strong for his wife.
But today it's the children of Pine Hills Elementary that gave them strength.
We love you. What I saw come over the mom and dad's face, because many of the students walked up to her parents and said, you were her inspiration.
An inspiration to many.
She wanted to help homeless people. She wanted to help people in need.
These children are amazing and resilient.
PTA Chair Lance Mitchell explains how everyone wore red because it was Tyonna's favorite color.
Oh, she was a very intelligent child, really strong. Just a lot of people who screamed how much they love her. They're still logging in for her every day. You know, she won't be forgotten.
Sassy. Funny.
Bishop Calvin Cobaris remembers Tyonna Major as a smart little girl. He says she didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer when she grew up. She wanted to help homeless people.
She was a bright little girl. She was strong. She had her future ahead. This by far has left me almost breathless. I have been at a loss for words.
Bishop Cobaris grew up with her mother. He's known the family for decades. He's at a loss for words over what happened.
I sat with them trying to make arrangements today. It was difficult for all of us in that room to accept what we were there to talk about and the arrangements we were there to make. Mom's recovery right now is not from being a victim of this. It's more so from having a broken heart.
Bishop Cobaris is hoping for justice for the family and for people to remember little Tyonna.
Even as a third grader, she knew what she wanted out of life, and what she wanted out of life should be our takeaway to allow her legacy to never die. She wanted to help people.
In a news release, prominent law firm Najami announced that they were representing both Tyonna and Dylan's families at no cost, quote, as the families work to navigate the many challenges and matters they face ahead. As of this video, authorities still have not discovered a motive, according to an affidavit. May the family and friends of Tyonna Major, Natasha Augustine, and Dylan Lyons find solace in the happy memories, and may their souls rest in perpetual peace. My thoughts and prayers are also with those recovering. Thank you.